I want to excuse again all the mistakes that I'm going to do in English. Sorry, it's not my first language. And the second excuse is that I see a few people here that heard me yesterday, and I'm afraid that they will be boring to hear it again. I will try to change a lot of things, okay? That the people that were yesterday will not be too much tired with my explanation, description of the Jewish non-people. Now, as Bertel told you, I'm teaching history in the Tel Aviv University. Jewish history is not my field. It's a long time that I was working about the natives in France, for example, and also natives in Germany. In one day I decided to question the natives in Israel, I mean the Jewish in Israel. And this is the book, this is a product of my my questioning the Jewish present in the history. Now, I wrote the book after I got the full professorship, because I was sure that if I will write it before it, there were not any chance to become a full professor. Not only in Tel Aviv, I believe also in NYU it wasn't sure that I could be. It's not a joke. Now, I wrote the book after I understood that nobody can touch me really in academic point of view. Now, it wasn't my field. Then at the beginning, I didn't know exactly what I'm going to do. There were a few questions, a few things that bothered me a lot as a historian of other fields. I have to explain you that I'm not a historian of the Jewish people, because we have in the Tel Aviv University a special department of Jewish history. I belong to the department of general history that is occupying with all the goys, but not about the Jewish. I have not any right to direct somebody in thesis, to write scientific articles or book about Jewishness. Why? Because I don't belong to the department of Jewish history. By the way, the Department of Jewish History, a little department with 12 students, I think, this year. We have 120. This department, all of the professors there are Zionist professors. It's very natural. By the way, it's all the universities in Israel has two departments separately, completely separate. Okay? Then it's not my subject, it's not my field, it's not my right to write about Jewish history. I decided to write it because, you see, I thought that Jewish history is something very, very interesting. Very interesting. In the way people write about it, I didn't like. But I don't hide that I decided to write this book also because I am an Israeli citizen that living in Israel in the beginning of the 2000 years, in seeing around me a kind of, how we call it, images of the past, and I'm speaking now like as a citizen, images of the past that worried me a lot. For example, to explain it clearly, I believe that you know, more or less, at least a part of you, that you are not a direct descendant of the Anglo-Saxon. You know it? In France, for example, people know today, the beginning of 2000 year, that they are not direct descendants of the Gauls. You see? But 100 years ago, most of the Americans believed that they are the direct descendant of the Anglo-Saxon that came here, you know, long time ago. Now, this is very interesting, between Israelis, 95% or even more are sure that they are the direct descendant of the people of the Bible. But it's not only the Israelis. I think that the Jew, most of the Jew in the world, at least in the Western world, are sure also that they are the direct descendant of the old Hebrew. Even in this room, I believe, there are people that more or less think that they are, the children, not of God, but of the Bible, no? I started to write the book because I have questions around the concept like what is a people, what is a nation, what is nationalism, what is a nation state, and other things. By the way, the first chapter I'm dealing with this concept. Then if somebody is starting to read the book, you can jump on this chapter. It's the most abstract, most difficult. And I didn't succeed in this chapter really to be simple as the rest of the book. Okay? Don't be afraid. This chapter is difficult. Jump on it, and then it becomes much more narrative. You see, it will take you forward. Now, starting with a simple thing, with a concept like people. Yes? It's not a scientific term. But what we mean usually when we say American people. Most of you belong to the American people? Yes, no? No, you come from Israel. No.
New York is my country.
Okay. No, it's it's very interesting. The people started to decompose in some way in the beginning of the new millennium. But using the word American people, French people, Italian people, see? It's useful. What we are meaning by saying Italian people? We are speaking about a group of human beings that are speaking the same language, more or less, has the same way of life, more or less, are eating the same food, more or less, have the same music, more or less, etc., etc., etc. Practice a norm, culturally practice a norm, common to this society that we call Italian people. If it's true to use Italian people, French people, German people, American people, how can I use the word Jewish people? You understand me? Because, you see, if I have a cat and a dog, I cannot start to call the cat dog. You agree with me? Yes. Because if I would call the cat dog and the dog dog, I didn't know who to call. No, it's not so simple. You have to understand. Jewish people, it means what? They don't have a language common to all. They are not speaking the same language. You see, I'm from Jewish origin. I imagine that there are other people here from Jewish origin, not? A lot of you. Can I speak in Hebrew now? I'm very good at in Hebrew, really. At least, can I speak in Yiddish? Not at no. Okay, I have to speak your language. Okay, English. It was an option once when I was young. You see, I believe that we can arrive to it. Why Jewish people? Not a language, not a food. We are not eating the same food. You see. By the way, in Israel we are eating hummus. You know what is hummus? I went in London to a restaurant, an Israeli restaurant, and I see hummus falafel, but it's not really Jewish. We steal it from the Palestinians like we stole the land. You know it. Now, not food, not language, maybe music. Yes, but the Doors music is not a Jewish music. I like the Doors, the Beatles. Unfortunately, it's not Jewish, okay? For the moment. Now, what will we mean, Jewish people? If it's not a secular culture common to the Jew, it's difficult to speak in modern terms about a people. Don't forget that before the modernity, the word people was applied to a lot of things, quite differently than they use today. All the Middle Ages, the word people was applied to a religious group, like the Christian people. You heard about it? God's people in England. Very common to speak about God's people. The Englishmen were the God's people, you know? Peuple de Dieu for the French. I mean, the word people design religious group. In the Bible, the Hebrew Bible, people has other connotation. But not the modern connotation. You understand me? Then why Jewish people? There is other reason. why to use the word Jewish people. This deep belief that the Jewish came from the same origin. They came from where? From Palestine, no? 2,000 years ago, the Romans expelled the Jewish from Palestine. And they started to wander in the world, you know, create a diaspora, arriving to Moscow, making a U-turn, return to their land in Palestine, Israel. This is the, you know, the kind of way that I studied history from the beginning till the last year. 10 years ago, I believed that the Jew, me, as a Jew, I'm a descendant of these people that were exiled 2,000 years ago. Everybody in Israel believed it, and I think also here, people more or less thinking that the Jews were exiled 2,000 years ago, no? And it has more or less, not a pure race, but more or less they are from the same, you know, ethnos, okay? I started to write the book after thinking about concept from the beginning. I think that the Jewish have not exactly the same origin, and I didn't understand why I have to continue to use the word Jewish people. And I thought that Jewishness is a religion, first of all, a very important religion in the Western world. When I started to speak with my students about it, it wasn't so simple. But we are a Jewish people. How come? The first basic in the 19th century to create a Jewish people, the first basic was the Bible. I noticed that the first part of the 19th century, Jewish first historians in the modernity in the 19th century consider Jew as religious community. Only in the second one of the 19th century appeared the first historians to use Jewish people in a modern sense. It means that the question when the Jewish people was invented, it's a long time ago, 140 years. It's a long time, no? 140 years that the Jewish people was invented. By the way, the French people, it was 200. The German people is 250. But it's not bad, 230, 240 years that the Jewish people exist as a concept. Now, in the modernity, to create nations, intellectuals invented to the past people. Understand? To invent a French nation, it was necessary, to create a French nation, it was necessary to invent a French people till the beginning of the time, till de Gaulle or till Clovis. For 100 years, little Frenchmen studied that they are the right descendant of the Gauls. Nos ancêtres les Gaulois was the first sentence in a lot of books, history books in the schools. Nos ancêtres les Gaulois, notre ancestor les Gaulois. Jews started to write the history of the Jew from the Bible. My first chapter, after the theoretical chapter, is dealing the way that these intellectuals of the national intellectuals of the second half of the 19th century took the Bible as a basic to tell the history of the Jew as a people. And it was a new thing to do. You have to know that the Bible, that is not a book, it's a library, was not read by Jew. Everybody believes that the Bible is the book of the Jews, no? More or less? The first testament, not the second one. But do you know the Jewish in their yeshivas, in their rabbinic schools, didn't study the Bible. They didn't read the Bible. Jewish didn't read the Bible.